G'day and welcome back to the Readings of Chill. We're moving on to chapter 17 this morning. A special shout out to Mr. White's class at Athol South Marysburg School in Prince Edward County. I went to North Marysburg School in Prince Edward County myself. Really glad you could join us. Really glad you're enjoying it. And I got word that you're anxiously waiting to hear the next chapter. So I think we shall get on with it. As you know, we left off after the mural was revealed, and it wasn't the mural that had been approved, and it had literally painted Mr. Specter in a very bad light. So the teachers and parents were not too pleased with that, and now they're all in the principal's office. So back to the story. They didn't care which one of us had done it. In their eyes, we were both guilty enough to be punished. Mr. Gondale and Orchid started venting immediately with spontaneous scolding. The principal was ranting to all who wanted to listen and those who didn't. In all my years, I have never seen anything like this. There is no excuse, he babbled. Orchid got involved too. She questioned his ability to run the school and accused him of not supervising his students or teachers. But most of Orchid's shouting was focused at Chill and me. The more people yelled, the calmer Mr. Specter became. Miss Sedette stood in the corner looking like someone had asked her a question she didn't know the answer to. Chill sat in a chair, listening intently, but not saying anything. I tried to defend us, but all I could get out was, but and eventually, sorry. Sorry isn't going to cut it, Mr. Gondale said. You're both going to be suspended immediately while we determine whether or not to take further action. What about our exams? I asked. If you're allowed back, you'll have to do the semester over again. A small smile crept across Mr. Specter's face. What? Orca said. This school has a zero-tolerance bullying policy, Mr. Gondale said, and they have to learn that there are consequences for their actions. What about his actions? Ms. Hollinground said, pointing accusingly at Mr. Specter. I think Mr. Specter is the victim in all this, wouldn't you say? No, I wouldn't say, she yelled. No, I wouldn't say, she yelled. What we saw out there is the effect. I'd like to know the cause. And your zero-tolerance policy should be just as stringent for teachers who bully as it is for students. That's insulting, Mr. Specter said, no trace of the smirk that he wore so proudly moments before. How dare you accuse me? Keep your bow tie on, bozo, Orca said, cutting him off. I do love her so. All I'm saying is that there should be some kind of investigation before anyone is threatened with expulsion. The lack of one would not only be unfair, it would look like the school was trying to cover something up. I can assure you, we're not trying to cover anything up, Ms. Hollinground, the principal said in a patronizing tone. Tell it to my viewers, she replied. As much as I would like to believe that she was doing this for me, it was clear that Orca was a mama bear protecting her cub. Judging by the look on Mr. Gondale's face, he had just seen the length of her claws. I agree with Ms. Hollinground, Ms. Sedette said, having found the answer to the question she was looking for. You, Mr. Specter said, you're to blame for all this, leaving these children unsupervised. First of all, Miss Siddett replied. They're not children, Mr. Specter. Secondly, I felt I could leave them unsupervised because they've never given me reason to distrust them. Now they have, he stated, the vein appearing in his forehead, and I'd like to know the reason for it, Miss Siddett said. This is ridiculous. They did it because I make them work for their grades. I think maybe, the principal started. You're not actually considering this, letting them get away with this? Mr. Specter demanded. No one's getting away with anything. I just think it might be in the best interest of the school to further investigate before passing judgment, Mr. Gondale reasoned. You're joking, Mr. Specter said, his face becoming bright red. The delinquents! You're putting their word against mine, a respected teacher and the author of 4 books. 3, and they're self-published, Chill said quietly, breaking his silence. Now, I never checked to see who published the books. It's impressive enough that he wrote them. But, judging by the vein on Mr. Specter's head and the way it was pulsating, I'd say that not only was Chill telling the truth, but that he had hit a sore spot. I will not have my reputation pulled into question by a mouthy little daydreamer and a gimp. The office fell silent. Everybody wondered what happened to that weird accent Mr. Specter had always had. I. He stuttered and then gasped and then made a choking sound. He grabbed his arm and collapsed to the floor like a bulk bag of gummy bears slipping off the storeroom shelf. Okay, so there's one more chapter left, I believe. So we'll get to that later this week, and then that'll be it. Thank you very much for coming along the journey, and I hope you all stay safe, and I'll get that next video up, and thank you for your patience on this one. Greatly appreciated. Peace.